I think sometimes you could get so caught up in performing out of fear of losing people that you forget who you actually are as a person. I think one of the most hardest moments in my life was when I lost myself in the loss of somebody else, in somebody else deciding to leave my life, and somebody else deciding that they wanted nothing to do with me. I feel like I forgot who I was, and that left me feeling stranded. That left me feeling like I didn't know what to do with my life, essentially, because I not only had I lost myself, but I had also lost the person that I had revolved my entire life around. And I feel like sometimes we don't realize that we can easily lose track of ourselves in trying to keep other people in our life. So we look at somebody that we see can play a role in our life that we wanted filled for so long, whether that's somebody loving us, whether that's somebody valuing us, whether that's, somebody we just deeply care about. We try and we almost start becoming the person who we know we need to be in order to keep them around. Every day is almost a performance to say, who do I need to show up as in order to continue to please this person, continue being chosen by this person, in order to keep receiving love from this person. And so we almost figure out every day the character that we need to play in order for them to constantly give those things to us. And we almost revolve our whole identity and our whole purpose around, getting that person to consistently choose us every single day. And I feel like in doing those things, we lose track of who we are, because no longer are we making decisions from our own values, standards, and opinions of the world, but we're now making it from the perspective of thinking of who does this person need me to be. And now we're becoming that person and not even questioning, is this who I am? Does this align with what I believe? Or does it just guarantee me to keep this person around, basically? And I feel like that's why so many of us lose ourselves, because we start becoming who people need us to be because I feel like that's such a big reason I lost myself in the past. And that's why it's so important to understand who you are as a person before even getting into relationships, so that you're not making decisions from somebody that's not you. I'm not saying to become egotistical to where other people can't influence your decisions in order for you to grow and mature, and you learn different things and you understand you have different flawed areas within yourself. But I think it's one thing to do that, but then another thing to make decisions solely to have a goal in mind of people pleasing somebody. Essentially, it's literally like people pleasing in disguise, but it's like pre-people pleasing. It's like almost manipulation to understand who you have to show up as in order to keep certain people around, because you're afraid that if you showed up as your true self or the person that you actually want to be, then they wouldn't choose you, or that person's not good enough. And so the theme of this video is, how do we basically reconnect with ourselves in order, after feeling like we lost ourselves in other people? And I feel like in order to actually connect with yourself, you have to actually spend time with yourself. I honestly don't think you could ever expect to understand or know somebody that you don't ever make time for. A lot of us never make time for ourselves to truly understand why we even live the life in which we live, because we're making decisions based off how the world perceives us, or how we can get the people that we like to like us, or how we can get people to have this specific perspective of us or to accept us, or whatever it might be. But if we don't take the time to truly sit with ourselves and figure out, hey, what do I want for me? What brings me happiness? What brings me peace? Who's the person that I actually enjoy being? Then we'll never know what decisions to make. And I feel like you have to slow down enough in life to actually make time for yourself, to align with yourself, and make sure you're living a life for you and not living a life to either impress other people, get accepted by other people, gain validation, or even just understanding what we allow to determine the person that we become. Because oftentimes we think that there's this right person that we have to be. We think, oh, I have to become this person because this is the person that gets the most claps. This is the person that gets the most validation. This is the person that everybody always seems to gravitate towards. And so in our mind, we had this idea of this right version of ourselves to be, or this right person to be, but it's really just all based on the external world and how we've seen that version of ourselves or seen that person accepted by the world. And so we think we're almost obligated to meet that narrative or play into that narrative essentially, and not create a narrative of our own. I feel like our own uniqueness is what what makes us honestly more valuable as a person. Because if we're all the same person, then what value do we truly hold? If there's just a bunch of the same person in different fonts and different skin tones and different faces and stuff like that. But I also feel like we lose such touch with ourselves because we honestly make other people the focal point of our life. We make other people our purpose. We give other people so much emotional control over ourselves. I mean, we put our happiness in the hands of others. We, how other people treat us determines how we feel about us. We revolve our identity around our relationship and whether it's going well or going, good or bad. If our partner is good with us or our friends are good with us, then we feel good about ourselves. But the moment they have a negative perspective towards us, we feel negative about ourselves, and we're down talking ourselves, and we're saying we're all these different bad things. We're a bad person. We're asking all these different questions, and that all comes from a lack of truly knowing who we are and actually knowing who we are to ourselves. But I think when you even ask yourself, who am I to me, and what have I allowed to determine that opinion, half the time it will come from, oh, other people have accepted me, other people have told me I'm a good person for doing this and that and stuff. But I think you have to truly ask, like, what determines if I'm a good person to me? What determines whether I love me? What does it look if I had to live a life that I could live without judgment? Who would that version of myself be? And I think that will honestly a lot of times guide you towards understanding your true values, understanding your true morals, understanding your true standards, and the person that you truly are at heart, and that you're actually happy to be. Because I feel like a lot of us are just adapted to playing the character that the world has told us to play, that our parents have told us to play, or that we've just been trained to be, that we truly don't even know who we are at a core. We've just become so normalized in the character that we've played for so long almost. That's why I feel like it's so important to have goals outside of yourself, have goals that are internal goals, have purpose outside of other people. Because I feel like when you make people your purpose, it leaves you vulnerable to emotionally being controlled by them whenever they go up or down. So let's say somebody decides to leave your life, and your whole goal around your entire life, and I'm saying this because I did this myself, was to satisfy that person, was to keep that person around, was to make sure that they didn't leave. The moment that you fail that, not only are you questioning the person that you were trying to be for so long and whether they were essentially valuable and the worth that they held, but it makes you feel like you're a failure. It makes you feel like you didn't accomplish the mission. It makes you feel like there's nothing to live for. You'll hear people all the time, I don't know who I am without this person, because they've revolved their whole entire identity around this person's opinion of them, this person loving them, this person giving them validation, because they never learned how to give it to themselves, or they never learned to become a version of themselves that they were actually proud to be. But the real way in which you really truly just connect back with yourself is to truly start spending time alone. It's to truly start, asking yourself certain questions of, what do I want for myself? Because a lot of people, they're living a life where they don't even know the person that they're trying to become. And so therefore they don't even make decisions from a place of, oh, I'm trying to get here, oh, I'm trying to get there. Does this help me get there? Does this hold me back? How does this decision align with the person that I'm trying to be? And so sometimes we're letting people into our life, and that they're the ones that are holding us back. They're keeping us from becoming that best version of ourselves, or the person that we envision ourselves becoming. Or we don't even understand who we are in this moment and where we need to start making changes. Because sometimes how do you get back to who you are is understanding the faults in the places where you need to start making changes. Sometimes it's a thing of reflection of saying, oh, I'm a people pleaser, or I'm this, or I struggle with this, I struggle with self-love, I struggle with having clarity in these decisions and these areas of my life. Because when you understand who you are as a person, the morals, values, standards in which you hold, and where you want your life to be going, and the type of people you want around you, and what you stand for, then your decisions and how you live your life, the people you let into your life, are become so much clearer, because it comes from a place of self-love. It comes from a place of understanding your worth. It comes from a place of respecting yourself. It comes from a place of trying to get yourself to a certain place in life, having a vision for where you want to go and the person you want to be. But if all those things are unclear, then none of it will make sense. And so some of y'all might be saying, I just feel like I'm lost. I feel like I don't know who I am in this world. You have to put yourself in the world in order to truly understand who you are, but you have to also listen to your heart, because your heart, your feelings, your emotions are not gonna guide you, but they're gonna let you know the decisions that you want to be making. Because sometimes we get so caught up in, again, living for the world, that we lose connection with what actually brings us happiness. It might be a different style of music, it might be different hobbies, it might be a different personality. And yes, that version of you might not get accepted by everybody, but that's the point. You're not for everybody. I read this quote the other day that it said, in order to truly get the 20% of life that is for you, that job, that career, the people, the things that are for you, you got to be willing to be disliked and rejected by the other 80%. In finding the life that is for you, you got to, almost weave through a hayfield of a bunch of things that aren't for you. People, things, rejection, failure. Like, it's gonna point you, like, you're gonna be disliked, you're gonna be rejected by so many other things in life in order to find the life that is truly for you. But I appreciate and love you guys as always. Hopefully you learned a lot from this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notices. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.